We have one more great question that has just come in that I want to address before we move on to our discussion topics from Amal. And that is, how are academic treatment centers able to get their phase one INDs approved much faster than industries? And what are the expected regulatory hurdles to adapt that process for phase two pivotal readiness? And I'd open that up to both of you.
I can.
Go ahead, Todd, and I'll follow up after.
I think what Amal is referring to is investigator-initiated trials, if I was to understand the question correctly. I think we want to get access as quickly as we can. I think I go back to a conversation that CBER had recently with experts in the field. I think we all want to get there, and other countries such as China have found pathways to, investigator-initiated trials with sponsors. There really isn't a pathway that I'm aware of, but I'm not a regulatory expert in the US or even the EU for such a pathway for sponsor-led investigator-initiated trials to basically get you there quicker. I think this is an area that we should work on as an industry.
So I can go ahead. I was going to follow up here that I think part of what they are asking is oftentimes even phase one style trials, not even IITs, when they're sponsored by an academic center, oftentimes seem to be able to get into the clinic much faster. Having worked, it is public knowledge that Verismo works with the University of Pennsylvania and uses them as a contract manufacturing site. And knowing a lot of people at UPenn, I think there are some differences. One, there is FDA trust built over many, many years with a lot of these investigators that, they might be working off of, a drug master file for their processes that make it much easier to turn around and much, much simpler to make these filings, as well as, from a non-formal but sort of a more personal perspective, from the FDA's perspective, companies are companies who are trying to, in one day turn a profit, while a lot of these academic centers are in it for purely the science, and oftentimes the investigator of note is putting somewhat their name on the line. So there is a bit of trust built up there as well. And is there hurdles from changing from what is an academic process to a phase two pivotal ready process? I think that would depend on the academic center that you're working with. Oftentimes, the academic centers will have a much more early phase appropriate process. So we'll oftentimes there is changes that need to be made. And how exactly you do that, it depends on how you partner with that academic center. It may be worthwhile that, you work with your process, your next gen process, and you transfer out of that academic center just before the end of your phase one trial to get some phase one experience, or you work with them to do comparability studies for your future process. But, a lot of these academic centers are pretty, well-heeled in doing a lot of these things just because, they're the land of spinouts.